In this meeting, COTUBANAMA decided to perform un guatia. A guatia was a special ceremony that the indigenous people would perform between two groups of people. It represented brotherhood, represented peace. In this ceremony, they would exchange names. So COTUBANAMA was no longer known as COTUBANAMA. His name now was Juan de Esquivel. As Bartolomé de las Casas describes, quedaron como perpetuos amigos y hermanos en armas. Y así los indios llamaban al capitán, Cotubano, another form of his name, y el señor Juan de Esquivel, meaning al cacique, le decían Juan de Esquivel. And it was expected that the Spanish would respect this ceremony. It was supposed to be permanent. But this ceremony also lets us know why so many indigenous people ended up with Spanish names. They did this so often, trying to gain peace and never being able to attain. As part of this deal, this peace treaty, Juan de Esquivel, the actual Spanish, built a fort very near the main yucayeque of los Tainos de Higuey. Y dice Bartolomé que hizo edificar una fortaleza de madera en cierto pueblo de indios, algo cerca de la mar, metido en la tierra, donde le pareció convenir, y dejó allí hombres con un capitán llamado Martín de Villamán. But as we've seen time and time again, the Spanish had no respect for the indigenous people. As they always had done, began to steal more women, because this is something they were already doing, stealing more daughters, more granddaughters, not giving a damn. The first war was around April 1502. It lasted several months. And now the Taino people of Higuey were under complete control of the Spanish. Ovando was more than happy with what he had done to them. While all of this is going on, those who had been taken as slaves were being separated from their families, from everything they knew. As Bartolomé describes, y despedida la gente de los españoles, cada uno se tornó a la villa de donde había venido, con la parte que le venía de los esclavos. So something we have to know of the First War is that the Spanish, the 300 to 400 Spanish settlers who went with Juan de Esquivel, they had to pay everything out of their own pocket. The Spanish government paid nothing. Even so, all of the booty or everything that they captured, including the slaves from the indigenous population, had to go, some of it had to go to the crown. And we know that in the documents that we have, it says that 25 piezas de esclavos de los de la Primera Guerra de Higuey went to the queen. But the Spanish were extremely angry about having to give their slaves to the Spanish crown. They were so angry that they sent Juan de Esquivel back to Spain to petition for them. Because we know that in 1503, at the end of 1503, we know that Juan de Esquivel y Francisco Velázquez were at court. And they had, as it states here, con ellos una serie de peticiones de los avecindados que tuvieron la certificación más cumplida. By now, it's 1503. There's peace for a couple of months. And the last straw for the entire island was when Anacaona was hung in Santo Domingo. This caused chaos all over the island, because Anacaona was captured in La Masacre de Jaragua. It took several months for her to be executed, but the people who ran off during the massacre, which I covered in a few videos back, they ended up running mostly to Higuey. We know that the Spanish who were left at that fort that was built after the First War of Higuey, those men in that fort continued to abuse the indigenous population. And again, I will repeat it. They kept kidnapping and taking the daughters, the granddaughters, the wives of the indigenous men, because they had been promised not to be taken as slaves to Santo Domingo. However, they were forced to plant a very large amount of yuca to make el casabe. They not only had to make the casabe, which was the work of the women, the men then had to take the casabe to Santo Domingo, where they were then obligated to work. They got fed up. They got fed up of all the abuse and the mistreatment So what did they do? They lit that fort on fire. Of the 9 men who were stationed at this fort, 8 of them were killed. The ninth man managed to escape. He ran all the way to Santo Domingo to tell Ovando what happened. Ovando was furious, and he said, "Le declaramos la guerra a sangre y fuego." He commanded once again that every single able-bodied Spanish man had to get ready for war from all of the settlements. He called upon once again Juan de Esquivel por capitán general y también capitán de Santiago. Y de Santo Domingo nombró a Juan Ponce de León, el capitán de la Concepción, Diego de Escobar. And the captain for Bonao isn't mentioned by name. This time, only 300 Spanish settlers joined in this second war of Higuey, which occurred around the summer of 1504. And we know this because Juan de Esquivel was in Spain in 1503. And we know that he had to arrive a little bit before the summer of 1504 in order to be involved in this war. The participation of Juan de Esquivel is a little bit of a debate, but I'm not going to go into that. What we are aware of, though, is that during these wars of Higuey, it was very obvious a trend that would continue on for centuries, which was the two different tribes fighting each other.